Hello my friends, David Kessler here and welcome back to the studio. So this is video one in a multi-part series that shows you how I paint monochromatic painting. So I've had some, I've been doing the monochromatic paintings, but not explaining those as I go. So I've had plenty of requests to, do a monochromatic painting, but show us what you're doing, tell us what you're doing as you go through. So that's what this series is going to be. Now, typically we'll start this with the color wheel, but really we're not going to do anything with the color wheel. We're really just going to be in the one family. I'm going to use a family of blues for the monochromatic painting. So it's really just going to be multiple colors of blue along with blacks and grays and orange to make a monochromatic painting. Now this is my take on doing a monochromatic painting. So I'm using a family of blues. I'm not going to use just one color blue, but I've got 5 colors of blue over here that we're going to take a look at just in a minute on the palette. But I want to tell you the materials that I'm going to be using first, so I don't have a lot of those questions to field after the video is done. So I'm working on a 36 by 36 gallery wrapped canvas, right? It's 1.5 inches deep. Now on the canvas, what I've already done is put on a light medium value or light middle value mixture of Titan Buff and Neutral Gray 6. Now I'm going to be using golden heavy body acrylic paint. So all the colors that I mentioned are going to be golden colors, right? So I've mixed those two together with water and put a sort of a thin wash on here. And you say, well, Dave, why did you do that? Well, in this case, the reason I did it is because I'm probably going to have quite a few light values in this painting, and I didn't want to have to try to paint those light values on a white surface. I would rather paint those on a surface that's tinted to a middle value, even though this is, I would call it a light middle value, right? And it's a basic surface color that I like to work on. It's a nice warm gray, so it's easy on the eyes. It's a little bit easier than, I use bright lights in here, so it's easier for me on my eyes than a bright white canvas. And that's really the reason that I like to use it. But it's just an underpainting. It's not going to show through in the final thing. It could, but most likely it's not going to. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the brush. I already told you about the paint, right? Golden heavy body acrylic paint. Let's talk about the brushes. Now I use several different kinds of brushes. Mostly I use, natural bristle brush. Now this is an Escoda brush, which is it's a Chungking bristle Escoda number 24, which means it's a 2 inches wide. I also use this Gesso brush from Blick, same kind of thing, shorter handle. And I also use this Creative Mark primer brush from Jerry's Artarama. These are all natural bristle brushes, these 3. You notice these 2 are basically the same. This one has a longer handle. Right. And I'll also use a Nylon Bristle brush. This one being a Raphael Sepia brush that I get from Jerry's Artarama. It's a number 50, which also is a 2-inch wide brush. Now I'll use these, you'll see me use this pretty much exclusively at my center of interest areas because it has a sharper edge and it's good for cutting in, hard edges in and around my center of interest, which is what I typically use that for. And the natural bristle brushes get used for everything else. Now the only other thing that I use when I'm painting is this old watercolor brush that I've cut the handle off at an angle, and it's got hundreds of layers of paint on it. And I just use this for scraping into the paint. I typically with a brush don't use linear marks, lines or line work, so I use this to scrape in the line work. And I'll probably also with this painting be using a Marabou art crayon, right? It's a Marabou art crayon. So these are permanent. Once you put them on, you can work them for about 12 hours or so, and then they become permanent, right? Great product, right? And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm a simple painter. I don't use mediums and, you know, crazy stuff that a lot of abstract painters use, because I don't need that stuff. You know, that stuff's novelty and all that. I mean, I don't need all that. I need paint and brushes, you know, and a canvas. That's pretty much it. So let's go to the palette and do a little bit of mixing. I'll show you the colors we're going to use. I'll do a little bit of mixing, and then we'll be off on the painting. All right, let's check out the colors we're going to be using for this painting. First, I have Pyrrole Orange, Phthalo Blue Light. Remember, these are golden heavy body acrylic paints. I have Manganese Blue, Cerulean Blue, Cobalt Blue, Ultramarine Blue, Anthraquinone Blue, which is actually mixed here with Mars Black, which I call Indigo. I have Neutral Gray 6, Neutral Gray 4, Mars Black, and Titanium White. Okay, so I've got basically from cool to warm, my blues, and then, you know, the grays and the blacks. Now, you know, if I was going to be a purist, I can make the black with the combination of ultramarine blue and the Pyrrole Orange, you know, and the grays I can mix with that too. But, you know, I don't want to do that. I just want to use these just like they are, you know, kind of a shortcut, if you want to call it that. Now for me, these blues are too intense right out of the jar to use for the painting. So I'm going to take this Pyrrole Orange and I'm going to mix it in each one of these and neutralize this color just a little bit. That's probably too much. All right, I'm going to neutralize these colors a little bit. Now that gets that to a much more usable color than it was before. We're going to do the same thing with these others. I'm going to take the manganese and do the same thing. Pull a little bit of the Pyrrole Orange. You think, oh gosh, that's too dark. Well, that's why we have lots of white paint, so we can add the white in here. And that's about the color, that's about the value rather, that I'm probably going to use for this painting anyway. Somewhere in that area. Okay, so let's look at the manganese without that, and you can see the difference. See how bright that is? That's way too bright for me to use in this painting, so I prefer this. And then the cerulean's not going to be a whole lot different. It's a beautiful, cool blue. The manganese is a little more intense. This is Cerulean Blue Deep. I'm sorry, I said it was just Cerulean Blue, but it's Cerulean Blue Deep. You see, it's not a whole lot different than the manganese blue. Now, Cobalt Blue, as we saw in a previous video, Cobalt Blue is like a primary blue. It's neither warm nor cool. And that's pretty intense still. Cobalt Blue is a very intense color. We're gonna mix our white in there, see what that looks like. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Now the ultramarine blue is warm. As you can see, compared to these, it has a lot of red in it. That's why it makes it's the best really. It makes it very good to use for mixing violet. Now we could easily get black if we mixed the Pyrrole Orange and this equally together. You can see the difference in that blue versus the others. It's very beautiful. Much warmer. Okay. All right, so the indigo, you know, it already has the black in it. So I don't think I need to add much. I don't think I need to add any orange to it. It's probably going to be good the way it is. But I need some more white to lighten that value. Because most of these blues are going to be, you know, in a lighter value, a middle value range. Okay. I think that's usable. Now if I need more paint as I go through here, then I'll add the paint in, obviously. I usually will mix it. I will usually mix it on the canvas. Okay. need some of that lighter. I might need this just like it is. Okay. I'll use the black pretty much the way it is. All right. Okay. And that's not a whole lot of mixed color, but like I say, once I get into the painting, I'll sort of mix that on the canvas on the fly, most likely based on what I've done in the past. All right, I hope that was helpful for you to see what we're doing on the palette. You know, in the next video, we're going to start the painting. We're going to get on this thing and really get to it. I have no idea what I'm going to paint because I do it all spontaneously. So if you like the video, if you would subscribe, hit the subscribe button down there. If you're watching me on YouTube, it's the red button that says subscribe. If you're watching this on the blog post, you can subscribe over in the sidebar to get the blog post emailed to you every week. I appreciate your support. I love you guys, and we'll see you on the next video.